Oh man. Come on, camera. You can do it. There you go. There you go. Hey, so I think that Periscope finally updated to actually tell you, give some sort of indication where the camera is oriented. I almost said oriented. That would have been incorrect because I just saw it. But yeah, so it's late. It's not that late. It's 10:20 some here. Just working on some comics. So yeah, how you guys doing? I don't know, like people all over the world, like I don't know where you guys are at. But yeah, whether it's late or early, hope you're having a good day wherever you're at, and hope things are going well for you. And thanks for coming by. Not gonna be a whole lot going on. Just gonna be doing comics. Pushing the last few pages on this thing. Finally. So yeah. Oh, I forgot that I was gonna do panel border there. I'll white that out. Right now I'm using a Pilot High-Tech C. It's like it's the main pen I use for drawing, especially this comic right now. I've been using some ballpoints for others, but this comic is all High-Tech C with a couple of microns tossed in for panels and bubbles and stuff like that. For the panel borders, I mean. Yeah, people always... I get that comment a lot that people think my nails look nice. So thanks. I appreciate that. It's not something I've really heard before prior to like streaming. Nobody's ever like, man, you have really nice nails. Don't really hear that a lot, so it's nice to hear that. Nice to have my nails acknowledged, I guess. My secret is I hate when they get in the way and break, so I just cut them like super short. I'm like almost compulsive about it. So, yeah. You guys, that's my life story, pretty much summed up in my habits with cutting my nails. I actually used to chew on them a lot, which is like it grosses me out, yet I would still do it. So I don't know. I did see that question. I've been drawing for a long time, long time. I always give that generic. I've been drawing since as long as I can really remember. I've just always been a kid that took to drawing. I was drawing like stupid little comics in like elementary school. They were basically rip-offs of like Captain Underpants. So that's when I first like really got passionate about comics, I think. And I think I've kind of ignored the call to do comics for a while, but I think that's like what I really want to do, and what I'm going to end up doing with my life. At least what I'd like to end up doing with my life. I'd like to go to space at some point too, but comics are probably the most likely thing to be successful at, as far as dreams are concerned, anyway. I mean, like no specific places in space, really. Just like space in general would be cool. Also, gonna point this towards him because he's actually the one talking. Probably a good plan. Suggestions for places to go in space? I don't know. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the question, but this guy, Presto correction pen from Pentel, jumbo correction pen. Nothing super fancy about it, really. I just think it looks neat. I've also used the Bic whiteout pencils that have that like bulbous reservoir thing. Those work just fine too, and are a little bit easier to find. Don't go out of your way to get this whiteout pen because there's nothing special about it. At least I don't think so, really. There's something I just fundamentally enjoy about drawing insects holding things. This way, like their hands are so cool. Insect hands are neat. If you ever like look at a super close-up view of like an insect foot or a spider foot, if you haven't done that, I recommend go do that right now because they're super cool looking. I don't always draw them as detailed as they really should be, but yeah. Really neat thing. Insect feet and arachnid feet. Yeah, spiders do have little paws. It's actually really fascinating. And insects almost have little like thumbs. Like they have two main claws, but then they have like a third. Some of them have like a third little claw underneath for like grasping. Super cool. Super cool. Yeah, there's no pencil line under here. Pencil line only for borders and text. Everything else is just going from like a super basic thumbnail. I did see somebody mention, and I can never remember your name. I feel like you're on a different username on Instagram, but dude who sent me Pokemon Yellow in the mail, shout out to you because you're awesome. Wasn't working at first, but super typical repair on those old cartridges. Just got to warm up the connectors on the chips and kind of reset the soldering on them. I've done it a couple times before. No big deal. But yeah, that's super awesome, and I do owe you a commission. So whenever you think of that, like I'm ready to take it. Yeah, so my Pokemon Game Boy game is expanding, and it's mostly thanks to a handful of awesome people that I've gotten some games from. Pokemon Yellow has been one that I've sought after for a long time, and it's working great. I played it for a little bit today, and it's as fantastic as I had hoped. It's actually one of the few Pokemon games that I didn't play when I was younger, when I had a Game Boy when I was a kid, so it's like something I've really wanted for a while. So I was really stoked to get that. Yeah, I used to have a lot of Pokemon cards. I'm not even sure what I did with my old Pokemon cards. I think I gave them to somebody, gave them away. Because I stopped playing. Because I actually used to play and trade the cards. I don't know, I should have kept them. I had quite the collection. I made the mistake of looking up what my collection would be worth after I'd already gotten rid of it and then just being, like, sad. Am I excited about Pokemon Go? And, man, it's like... am I excited about free food? Always. Yes, I am extremely excited about Pokemon Go. That's going to be fantastic, and my wife is going to hate it. But that's like, honestly, that's kind of like how I gauge how good something is when it comes to video games, like how much my wife is going to hate it, because the better it is, the more it sucks me in, the more my wife is going to hate it. Totally true. Totally true. Like I think her exact words when Skyrim was coming out is like, "Oh great. Like I'm not going to see you for a month, right?" I was like, "Yeah, pretty much." I think the same thing happened when Diablo 3 came out too. I don't even think I'll have to white this out. I think I'll have the chance to just fill it in black. Fuzzy, fuzzy Mothman. Always so much fun to draw. Can't help it. He's so fluffy. He's like so evil, but so fluffy. Which is why he's so great. Um, hand cramp? No, I don't really get hand cramps, but I also do like regular stretching. So I do stretching whenever I sit down for like long drawing sessions, which is totally a thing that you should be doing if you're sitting down to draw for more than like 30 minutes, I think. Um, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just speaking from experience. If you're sitting down just to jot something down for like 10 or 15 minutes, and it's not really a big deal, I don't think. But if you're like going to do some really strenuous drawing, it's a good idea to start stretching. And you can look up videos. I look up videos that drummers use, because drummers use a lot of the same like muscles and tendons that artists use when they're drawing. They just do it much more vigorously. So if you do the stuff that drummers do to keep their hands and their tendons and joints working correctly, then you should be good. That's what I think about it anyway. So yeah, if you don't know, look up some videos on YouTube and get into a routine with that. Because for me, it's like I don't even think about it anymore. Before it was a chore. It's like, oh man, I got an idea. I just want to draw. It's like, all right, I got to stretch. It's just part of my habit. So if you make stuff part of your habit, it takes some time to form that habit, but it'll be much much better for you in the long run. Nothing like a late night working on comics and some nice cold beer. And yeah, I got that some of that super fancy Pabst Blue Ribbon. I know, I know. Some of you may be like, "Whoa, beer snob over here," but hey, I have advanced tastes. And yeah, when I drink, I do get super sassy. So Sassy Merrick will most likely be making an appearance tonight. In fact, I think he already is. Huh. But yeah, so I'm just going to be doing this kind of stuff. So if you do have questions, feel free to ask, whether it be related to comics or whatever. Um, we can just talk about whatever you feel like talking about. I'm just going to draw some squiggly lines. hope to get like at least one more page done. If I can get one more page done on stream, then maybe I can get one more done off stream, and then I think I'll be within one page of finishing this issue. I'm getting really anxious about it. Like, I'm to that point where I just want it to be done already. It's so close. I can taste it. It tastes like Pabst Blue Ribbon. You couldn't pay me to draw straight lines. Metal Gear's cool. I like Metal Gear. I have to pretend I don't like it because I don't have a system that can play Phantom Pain, which is a big problem for me because I'm actually a huge fan of the series. But I'm pretending like that game doesn't exist. Because the more I pretend it doesn't exist, the less it hurts not being able to play it. And yes, it does hurt me. Metal Gear Solid 4 is one of my most favorite games. I dearly, dearly love Metal Gear Solid 4. I love everything about that game. I love the series as a whole. Metal Gear Solid 3 and 4 are my favorite. Because things start getting like kind of crazy campy in Metal Gear Solid 2, and it's great, but they like full on embrace it in Metal Gear Solid 3 and 4, which I think is just great. Yeah, I know there's a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid on like the GameCube, I think, with like HD graphics. I don't know if they really re-released it for like Xbox or whatever, with like the HD remix version, but I never played the HD remix. I like the original. I like the old blocky blurry face Snake. Like, I think it's almost strange not to play it with the original graphics. I don't know. But it's nostalgia for me, you know. Because believe it or not, like back in the day when Metal Gear Solid came out, like there was no internet. And I'll let that sink in for you youngsters. But what that meant was that playing that game was an experience, because unless you were talking to another friend who had played that game and they were spoiling it for you, there are some certain parts that were very, very scary if you didn't know anything about it going into it. And a lot of parts that were like ridiculously tough to figure out, especially with no guide available online. Certain things about a code on the CD case, and maybe something that happened with Psycho Mantis. I don't want to spoil anything just in case somebody hasn't played the game, but yeah, pretty groundbreaking stuff for a PS1 game. That was definitely an experience. So it's totally, and I feel like probably everybody else that played it around that time period where there was no like online guide circulating or anything like that probably had a very similar experience with that. I think that's why so many people love that game, because everybody has a story to tell about it, about their first time playing Metal Gear Solid. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's cool. I have seen like videos of the HD remake that has like the first person Ironside's view and stuff like that. But I don't know, like something about the original with like the top-down view and stuff like that. It's like makes it feel so much more like almost like an arcade game. It's really interesting, the gameplay in that sense. And like it seems having played modern games and going back to a game like that with the clunky controls and the weird aiming and stuff like that, it feels archaic, but like taken on its own, it works really, really well without any conceptions of like a better way to do things potentially. I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling, but I really enjoy it. No, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I do. I feel like I'm pretty confident most of the time. Sometimes I kind of just go with things. Like, if that makes sense. Like if I find that I'm thinking too hard about where something should go or how something should look, I kind of like almost intentionally mess it up, or like intentionally do something without planning, just to see how it turns out. To like take a situation that could be potentially bad and turn it into a success. I find more joy drawing that way than taking a lot of time and like planning something out beforehand. Kind of just like put it down, because like my main focus with this panel is to put this guy in the middle. He's saying something, and then I'll add stuff in on the sides. I probably won't try to do anything too fancy, because in this panel is really involved here. There's a lot of dynamic going on here, and this panel I want to be all about him. So I might even, like, I was thinking about putting his guards in on the side, but I already have a panel kind of like that, so I might just leave it just him, and like maybe just do some, I don't know, maybe just go on the old like swirling leaf, fall back on the falling leaves. I did just say leaves, didn't I? Should not do that. Pilot High Tech C. I almost feel like I want to just get that like tattooed on my hand, so whenever somebody asks that question, I could just like Pilot High Tech C. Love these pens. I love the texture they create with like this scribbling, the filling in. You can get certain Pilot pens at Walmart. I would be amazed if you could find these Pilot pens at Walmart. One time in Oregon, I found them at a Fred Meyer. They came with a pack of like the colored ones, so it was like a set of gel pens. But after I saw them, they never restocked them after that. So I think it was like just a total fluke, like maybe like an accident or something. You almost never see them in anywhere but like specialty art stores. If there's an art store around you that's not a Michaels or a Joann's or a Utrecht, I think doesn't even carry them, or like a Blick, I think Blick maybe. No, they're the same now. So no, I'm pretty sure you can't even find them there. I haven't seen them there. I just order them off of Amazon. Or Jet Pens also always has them. Yeah, Amazon or Jet Pens. Jet Pens actually is a super reliable source of getting them, because Jet Pens, that company started as a viable option for shipping this particular pen, the Pilot High Tech C. That was the first pen they ever stocked and carried and shipped, because it became such a desirable pen, like among enthusiasts, that people in America wanted a reliable source of getting them, because prior to the release of the G-Tech C, there's no American release of this pen. And many people say it's the best pen ever made for a very good reason. I have a couple different sizes that I use. I use 03 and 04, like I'm using an 03 now, to get a slightly different texture, slightly like finer texture, a little bit lighter. But just pick up a set of like 2 of the 04s and try them out, see how you like them. It's a fantastic drawing pen. Pilot High Tech C. HITEC, and then just the letter C. I hope more and more people start buying them so the demand gets greater and Pilot distributes them more widely, or at least they become more of like a staple. They're just so good. So good. I don't really feel like doing a lot in this panel. We'll just BS it. That's a very technical term. A very technical art term called BSing it. So I'm just going to do that. Because I've been drawing a lot of really involved panels, and I think it's time to do a not so involved panel. I feel like my phone is slow, like it's on a stand that's like slowly lowering. Excuse me. Yeah, I think it's almost definitely doing that. Hold on, let me tighten it. I think that was tighter. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. I don't know. I'll just do like a hint of the dude standing here. I'll like outline their silhouette in like a scribbles. Also a very technical term. A scribbles. That's not just language that you like pick up anywhere. Like you have to go to art school to learn these technical terms such as BSing it and a scribbling. So I didn't finish art school. I didn't finish it, but yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just rambling. I'm just a scribbling here. Thanks for putting up with me, guys. I know I'm like super weird sometimes, especially when it's like late and like I'm kind of zoning out. And like my mouth is kind of just running and I'm not really thinking about it all that much, so like if I start just like making noise, like unintelligible noises, and like I'm not actually speaking, then I don't know, try to get my attention somehow. Put like, I don't know, something vulgar in all caps. I'll get my attention and be like, what? It's okay, there's no judgment here. There's no judgment here. I'll do like their eyeballs, so it looks like they're, well, this isn't eyeballs, it's like his helmet. But this dude is like, he's so intimidating that, like, I don't know, this is kind of like him being intimidating, like everything out of the other than him is like kind of like out of focus. Like it's BSing it, but like I also do it on purpose because I do want you to be focusing on the character when he speaks, kind of subconsciously is tuning everything out. I did write the script for this comic. It's not totally written out. I write it out piece by piece, a little bit at a time. But I do my own writing for this one. There's a couple other comic projects I'm working on. Some are like freelance type projects that I've been like hired to do. But I always choose to do jobs, and I never have taken a comic job that I wasn't like actually personally invested in, that I didn't actually enjoy and want to work on. Because, like, to be honest, like, if you bring a script to me and I don't like it, like, I'll be upfront with you. And if you're like, hey, you want to work on this comic project, like, even if you're offering to pay me and stuff, if I don't like it, I probably won't work on it. And I'll be upfront about it. And it's nothing personal, but, you know, like, if I'm working on something that I'm not involved in, the quality is not going to be as good. So, like, I won't take it. Because hiring somebody to do comic art is expensive. So, obviously, like, if you're going to be paying me, you know, a good deal of money to draw a comic based on a script that you wrote, you know, I want you to be getting your money's worth for sure. But I always feel kind of bad because people come to me and they're like, I want to show you the script, it'd be a paying comic job, you know, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, oh, great, yeah, I'll take a look at it. And then when I say, like, you know what, yeah, like, I'm going to turn it down, like, people almost always take it personally, and I don't blame them. Like, it's totally shitty, I know, but, like, it's not that I don't think it's good, even. It's not that I don't think it's good, it's just, you know, maybe not for me. Or maybe I'm just, I don't know, maybe I'm just a giant asshole. That's probably the most likely thing. Just a big hat. So here's that page. That page is done. I'm going to move on to the next one. So I've got my little book of thumbnails / script here. This is pretty much all I have to go off of. It went through the laundry, so that's why it looks like that. Little plastic clippy. Okay. What was I going to do here? Yeah, okay. Alright. Well, so when I start writing, or when I have an idea for a comic, where's my pencil? There it is. What I do almost every time is I try to think of, and this is like totally something I learned from like creative writing classes. Always think of a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you got to think of an interesting start. An interesting general conflict is also known as the middle, and an interesting ending. If you get those three things, then you can kind of just fill in the blanks. A lot of people say to like start with a good character. I don't recommend that. If you start with a good, you don't even have to, you know, have a character in mind. You can just be like, you know, protagonist. And, you know, this interesting thing happens to the protagonist in the beginning. This starts off this conflict. And then interesting thing happens to the protagonist at the end. Or interesting thing happens with the conflict at the end. And then, you know, the middle is just, well, how do you get from the beginning to the end? Like, just fill it out from there. And like, if you don't have a good idea for a character, but you have a good idea for a conflict, the characters will come to you. I almost never create characters before I create a story. I always create characters with a story in mind. Because, and like I said, you know, I'm not saying there's a correct way to do things. I'm just talking about how it works well for me. But I find personally that if you come up with an idea for a character first, you're going to eventually at some point end up making the story cater to that character. You're going to make the story fit the character as opposed to making the character fit into the story. And that can create this unnatural situation where, you know, just, you know, off the top of my head, you want to make a story about a cyborg cat girl, you know, whatever. And then, you know, you have to think about a universe where the cyborg cat girl would be possible, and then, you know, you're creating a universe around the character, which that's not how it works in real life. So it tends to be kind of unrealistic in that sense. Does that make sense? Like it kind of like the suspension of disbelief doesn't ever start. So you're kind of like, oh, it's a robotic cat girl story. Not, a story about this whole overarching conflict, you know. Oh, okay. So I don't know if that makes sense. It may not make sense. I hope it does. Because if you make a world and then create characters, your characters like automatically fit into that world. Because like you live in the world, you're a part of the world. The world isn't created as a method to tell your story. Your story exists within the world because you exist within the world. Does that make sense? Yeah, stories always greater than characters. Man, you guys are not letting me off easy. Really good questions. Totally valid and very good question. I just hope my brain is working at a high enough capacity to make sense of an answer. I'm very thirsty. I got a powerful thirst. This is paper. One size of paper that's been cut in half to make another size of paper. It's 11 by 14 cut in half, so it ends up being like 7 by 11. I believe, because that's math. Sorry, my brain doesn't talk and write at the same time. So just let me get this thing. Yeah, because math. Things are starting to get serious. So this is the super exciting part where I just write and be quiet. It's the best part of the stream. If you like quiet, if you like just the soft sound of pencil scribbling on paper, then this part's for you. I don't know, some people probably find that very therapeutic. The like dull thud of pencil hitting paper. I've become an accessory to hooliganism. It's a good text. It's probably important. You guys hear that when I get a text? You hear the phone vibrate? Does that like translate through the periscopes? Huh. Well, there it is again. I don't think I can check it without. Oh, maybe I can. Oh, it's nothing. It's not nothing. It's my wife texting me about stuff. She's still, wow. Okay. No, it's fine. What was I saying? Was I saying anything? Probably not. Probably nothing important anyway. I'm still writing. Yeah, my wife is upstairs and winding down, and I'm downstairs. I told her I was streaming, so she's probably just trying to bother me. Excuse me. Had some gases going on there. And that comes with the territory of drinking beer. What am I doing? It's supposed to be a K. Yeah, it's a K. There we go. That's a good nickname. Even better when used mockingly. I forgot a word in here. I'll just do the thing I hate. How do you spell guard? It's G-U-A. There's always one of those ones that I have to like take a second look at. Like believe. I always like have to take a second and think. Is it I-E or E-I? Super stimulating conversation, I know. I kind of wonder, because it's really interesting writing comics, because like the story is all in my head. Like there's no surprises, there's no twists for me. Everything already exists in my head, right? So when people are reading, or if they're getting bits and pieces of the story from like previews and stuff, like I wonder, like I always try to put myself in the shoes of the reader, and like I hope that people are like thirsty for this story, that it's interesting enough that it's drawing people in. And you know, it's hard for me to say yes, I think people are like that, because it's kind of like humble bragging a little bit. Not even humble bragging, just like straight up bragging. Like, I think my story is interesting, and I think it is, but you know, I want to just like come out and say that. But for the sake of selling my story, it is interesting, and I think you guys will enjoy it. I've got enough twists and turns and interesting things planned that should keep people interested. And yeah, you're totally right. It is okay to be proud of your work. It's not cool to brag, but it's okay to be proud. And there's a fine line between being proud and bragging. But yeah, I mean, I'm proud of my work. I like my work much of the time. It's not attractive to self-deprecate, whether it comes to your work or anything else. You know, you don't want to like be out on a date with somebody and like be like, hey, you're very pretty, and be like the other person's like, no, I'm ugly. Like that doesn't make you feel good giving a compliment to have them like shoot your compliment down. You know? So as an artist, don't get out there and be like, my work sucks, like I know this sucks. Like it's okay to hate your work. That's like a natural part of being an artist, but don't tell people that you hate it. I like, as much as I'm happy with my work, I'm also unhappy with my work. I hate my work, but because I know that I can do better, because I know that I will do better next time, but in general, I'm proud of it. And a lot of the times, you'll find that if you take a step away from your work and like look at it again in like 2 weeks, you'd be like, oh, well, this is actually pretty good. Because I know that I'll like post stuff to Instagram and be like, this is kind of shitty, but like I need to post something today, so I post it, and I'm like, it's shitty, But then I look at it again like 2 weeks later, I was like, actually, that's pretty good. I'm actually kind of proud of this thing. So, it's okay to hate your work, but, don't hate it too much. It's like anything else, There's got to be some reason why you're doing it, right? If you just hate your work all the time, you can't find any good in it, then why are you even drawing? Not to say that if you feel that way you should quit drawing, because that's not what I'm trying to say at all, but like you should, there no matter what, if you're doing it and it's something that you keep coming back to and you keep wanting to do, like there's a reason for that. So it's like riding a bike. When you learn to ride, it's almost impossible to learn how to ride a bike without falling over at least a couple times. So if you think about art that way, like you're gonna fall over a bunch of times before you get up and start cruising and you feel good about it. Then it becomes a lot easier, because just like anything that's worth doing, art is hard. And learning how to be good at art comes with a lot of suffering, a lot of frustration, and all that good stuff. I've been there. I can speak from experience. I mean, shit, I'm still there a lot of times. A lot of times I have to convince myself that my art is good. And trust me, that is something I do fairly often. There's been even times with this comic, which I generally like, that I've had to convince myself not to start over on it. Be like, man, but it's good, but like I can do better. And then literally have to convince myself that no, it's good, don't start over, just commit to it, you gotta get it done. Because at a certain point, like you gotta just do it. And like the next issue will look even better than this one, because I'll have learned more and I'll progress, and I'll be happy. So just keep at it. Keep at it. Everything gets easier the more you do it. And another thing that I always say, that I will regurgitate again, is it's a good thing to hate your art, because it means you realize that you can do better. If you look at your art and be like, oh man, like I know I could do better than this, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Don't see your failure in the present. See your potential future improvement. Because honestly, the people who are like, my art's amazing, there's nothing I'd change about it, it's so great, those are like the worst artists, because they never get better. So think about it. It's not a bad thing to hate everything that you do. There's definitely a fine line. Like I said, like don't beat yourself up about it. Don't give up because you hate it. hating it you should look at that in a positive way and be like, well, I hate it because why? And you hate it because, like, oh, well, that hand is kind of not drawn well, or like I could have done the background better, or this or that, and that's why you hate it. Then realize that you hate it because you see something that you can improve in the next drawing. So focus on the next drawing, focus on the improvement. Being jealous and hating your own work when you're looking at somebody else's work is another thing that's super typical. I suffer from it almost every single day. Like, to the point where, like, I go on Instagram and then feel bad about my work. I'm like, wow, but this artist is doing this, like, really cool, clean style that's, like, really well planned out and produced, and, like, maybe I should start drawing like that. And I think that's a feeling that a lot of artists go through. But I have to tell myself, like, turn off Instagram and get into your sketchbook. Like, you know, you do what you do the way you do it for a reason. So don't think that because somebody is doing something else and it looks nice and you like it and you maybe even be jealous of it, that you need to change your habits and start doing things that way, because you absolutely should not do that. It's good to, you know, see how other people do things and, like, maybe take ideas here and there. But, like, changing the way you do things because somebody else does it a certain way is not healthy. And you'll never be happy because you'll always see people doing things a different way than you're doing. So do things the way you want to do. And if anything, like, take advice from the artists you admire. Whether that be me, Garsh, I'm blushing, or whoever, you know. These artists artists have been drawing for a long time for a reason, and they've kept at it for a reason. So listening to their advice is a super good idea. My advice: don't hit the camera while you're streaming, because it gets super annoying and people can get motion sickness from that. Just a small tip, but yeah, you know, like, you just gotta keep at it. Like, art is hard for a reason. You know, anything worth doing is hard. And yeah, if you have the opportunity to show your work to other people, that'll definitely build confidence, because there's always going to be somebody that likes your work. Try to surround yourself with people who criticize your work in a good way, and people who admire your work, but are also able to tell you, you know, what can be improved. And that goes for you guys too. Like, if you want some constructive criticism on your work, hit me up. Like, I'm pretty good at constructive criticism. Like, I love doing the compliment sandwich, where you give people something that's nice about them or their work, and then something that could use improvement, and then something that's nice again. I always thought that was like a funny way of, like, saying things, like the compliment sandwich. The idea is that the compliments are the bread and the constructive criticism is the meat on the inside. But I always visualize it as, like, a sandwich that's got, like, really delicious bread, but, like, what's actually on the sandwich is kind of, like, icky. I don't know, I always just get a weird visual with that. But, you know, yeah, if you want some constructive criticism on your work, definitely just hit me up and, like, be upfront about it. Be like, hey, like, I want to know what you think of my work, and I'll be like, okay, I'll be super honest with you. Because yeah, it really does help, and, like, you may not always want to hear the things that people say that you should work on with your art, but you gotta understand that most of the time these people are saying things to help you. You know, if it's something you don't want to hear, it's probably you don't want to hear it for a very good reason, because, you know, maybe deep down you know it to be true. Deep down you know it to be true. I watched Revenge of the Sith today, episode 3. I have such a love-hate relationship with that movie. Yeah, thumbnails, no pencils. I'm going to read... I don't like this thought bubble going into his eyeball. I do not like that at all. So I'm going to change that. And just do this. White out. Gonna use some white out. To totally derail what you guys were talking about and to decide what I'm talking about. Yeah, I watched Revenge of the Sith today, and I did not realize that movie came out in 2005. It's been that long, and I probably haven't watched it in a good 3 years, something like that. I love and hate that movie. I hate Hayden Christensen's face. Every scene he's in, he's making a dumb face, and it drives me nuts because it detracts from what I actually like about that movie. And there are several things I really like about the movie. I love General Grievous. He is awesome. His character is awesome. His design is awesome. His scrap with Obi-Wan is awesome. Obi-Wan is my favorite Star Wars character, hands down. I think he's just such like an awesome old man, and like just a cool dude in general. And like his hair is really nice too. He's got a nice beard. I always respect that. And he does that little like 2-fingered point thing when he stances up for his lightsaber battles. That I think is really cool. And I really love Emperor Palpatine's character development in that movie. I think it's super cool the way they actually show you how using powers on the dark side of the Force actually like harm the person that's doing it without spoiling too much. And then Hayden Christensen is just standing there with this dumb face in every freaking scene. Worst casting ever for Anakin Skywalker. And I love, and it's not even in Revenge of the Sith, but I love when he goes on his whole rant about how much he hates sand, and then like Obi-Wan knows, and so he puts Luke Skywalker on Tatooine because he knows how much he hates sand, and I think that's so funny. I think that's probably the most underappreciated part of like the new trilogy of Star Wars is after that whole sand rant, then Obi-Wan puts Luke on Tatooine, and I think it's so funny. It's like he hates sand. He's never gonna go to Tatooine. It's like the best. Like screw you to Darth Vader. Like you gotta love that, man. Yeah, I really did like The Force Awakens. Genuinely, as a hopeless Star Wars fan, I really enjoyed The Force Awakens. I thought it was really good. And I thought the whole like villain being tempted by the light side of the Force is a cool new dynamic that we haven't seen yet in Star Wars, and executed a lot better than with Anakin, I must say. I love all the characters. I love the execution. It felt like a good old fashioned Star Wars movie, not like the junky new ones. You know, it's like that movie was like Star Wars greatest hits. Like it brought all the great parts of Star Wars back, and like reminded you of all the great parts with all the old characters they brought back, and gave you so many new awesome parts. I would like to have a conversation with somebody who likes Star Wars and didn't like that movie. And actually, like, I almost want to take that back because I probably would not enjoy that situation, but I'd be curious. Yeah, absolutely you did. I'd be curious to know, like, why they didn't like it. And I feel like it would be for totally BS reasons. Because that movie was amazing. And you will never, ever tell me otherwise. That was my stomach. If you heard that. That was not a fart. That was my stomach. Promise. Do I have any Star Wars collectibles? It's hilarious. Hilarious. Look at my hat. This is my hat. Do I have any Star Wars collectibles, he said. Any Star Wars collectibles, he said. This is, I'm gonna actually pull my phone. Yeah. Yep. That's from Disneyland. You can't get that anywhere else. That is a TIE Fighter popcorn holder from Disneyland. I went to Disneyland just to get that. I have other ones, but I want to keep drawing, so. Does he have any Star Wars collectibles? Hold on. Does he have any Star Wars collectibles? Yes. Yes, I do. I have other stuff, but nothing that's within reach right now. I also have Obi-Wan's lightsaber. I don't have any really expensive collectibles because, like, I don't know. Like, I have bills to pay. That's, like, the main reason why I don't have any, like, of the expensive ones. But, I wish I had them. So, I think that's probably just as good. It's not just as good, but just let me think. Just let me do my thing. Oh yeah, people have been doing those for a while. Like, I saw some more recently of like Rey and Poe and Finn, of the like feudal Star Wars characters, designs like the samurai and Bushido style and stuff like that. Super cool idea. Excuse me. Yeah, the saber forge. I've seen a couple of those. I saw images of those a little while back, and they are super cool. Yeah, I wish if I was single, and I didn't have like a family to support, then I would have a lot, and I mean a lot of expensive Star Wars stuff. Because there's so much stuff I want. But yeah, there's like I have a few things, and those things make me happy. So I more than anything, I really like the Star Wars Legos. Not only because I super love Legos, but I think the Star Wars Legos are particularly like a really great quality when it comes to Legos. But it may just be how much I love Legos too. So I have a lot of the like older sets from like between like 5 to 10 years ago that are boxed up. Like I have like an old Y-wing TIE fighter. I think a Darth Vader's TIE fighter, and I had the snow speeder for sure because the snow speeder is super cool, the old one. and I have, I think, an X-wing or an A-wing, one of those. And I have a bunch of the other ones from, like, I have, like, the droid transport tank from episode 1. Because like, episode 1 isn't totally garbage. A couple of designs are really cool. But they're like boxed up, I think back at, like, my parents' place. Because I had them a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's a terrible, terrible joke. Yeah, I can't boast anything like that. I have never met a Star Wars person. Yeah, hey, good night. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. Hope you had fun. Hope you listen to it's me rambling, kind of, just like a grumpy old man, like, won't shut up about something. So yeah, thanks for putting up with me. I know it's getting late. I don't even know what time it is. I'm not paying attention. It's 11:30. We've been going for about an hour. Is it really an hour? I feel like it was less, but I don't know. I'll probably finish these 2 panels and then maybe take a break and maybe come back to it. I don't know how long I'll be going tonight. Probably at least another 2 hours, I'd hope. I was hoping to get a little bit more done than what I have so far, but... Oh, well, thank you. This is a very nice, genuine compliment. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm glad that I can be somewhat informative when I'm in this, like, tired, zoned out state. But I wasn't doing anything other than sitting here drawing, so I figured might as well stream. Even if people just, like, tune in and then get annoyed by me, like, that's still a victory. Because at least I, like, drew and annoyed some people. It's slightly more productive than just drawing. Just slightly. I was thinking about playing some music, but the fam is winding down, so didn't do that. Yeah, thanks for coming by. Always thankful when people choose to spend time with me. That's pretty amazing. Because I'm generally, like, a super sarcastic and introverted person, so when people, like, actually want to be around me, it's like, kind of nice, more warm and fuzzy feeling, the heart growing 3 sizes and all that. Yeah, so that's nice. Thanks, guys. I do appreciate it. I'm usually the first one to shout, "I'm gonna draw a dick," actually. There's a pretty... And, like, I'd probably do it, too. I'd probably draw, like, excruciatingly detailed dick just to make the person uncomfortable. Or draw something, like, really creepy for the same reason. Just because, like, the person is expecting you to be like, "Oh, dicks, I don't draw dicks." Like, fine, you want me to draw a dick? I'll draw you the best dick you've ever seen. And the person's like, "What? I mean, I didn't really want you to draw a dick." It's almost better when someone's like, "Finally, I get to watch a stream and all he talks about is dicks." Man. With a soul coming out of it? I mean, I have a visual, like, already in my head for, like, what I would draw, which is really interesting. But I kind of want to know like what the person was expecting. But that sounds like kind of cool idea, actually. It's a vagina binding, cursed on pickup. Your soul is bound to it. Yeah, pretty standard fare. If I were a warlock, I would make, curses like that, where upon being cursed, you are bound to like a banana. And like if the person eats the banana, they're essentially eating your existence. I would be the biggest dick if like magic was actually a thing. Like, well, I cast so I cast a spell where all of your physical, feelings is bound to like a coffee mug. So every time someone like drinks from the coffee mug, you feel like their lips on you, and when somebody like pours hot coffee in it, it burns you because it's like attached to your nervous system. Like those would be the kind of curses that I would come up with, and they would just be like so horrible. But like I'm an evil warlock. It's like what I do. So it kind of just comes with the territory. Yeah. Yes. I don't know. I never read the end of the Harry Potter series. I watched the movies, so I know they go into a lot more detail about that stuff. But I always thought like so I know there's like pseudo explanations behind it and stuff like that. But if I were to make horcruxes, I knew that someday somebody might come looking for them to destroy them to eventually destroy me. Like make your horcrux like a grain of sand and like put it in the ocean. So like if you could make all the other horcruxes like my bathrobe and my toothbrush and all this other junk that people could easily find, but the one horcrux is like a random grain of sand at the bottom of the ocean. Like good luck finding that, assholes. Good luck finding that. And like I know it has to be like some sort of like deeply personal item or something like that. But like if you're planning to do this, like find a grain of sand, put it in a vial, name it, and carry it around with you every day and like talk to it and make it a deeply personal item and then make it a horcrux. Like geez, like come on. Like evil geniuses like can't even do it. Like if I was I would be the worst. Like nobody could ever defeat me because I would use like the biggest like most dickish tactics ever. Yeah, they would find it, but like, it would buy you a lot more time at least. Or at least make it something that, like, if you're going to be truly evil, like, you really got to own it. Like, make a horcrux like your turd. Like, poop, and then make one of your poops a horcrux. So when they have to destroy it, it's like a petrified poop they have to burn that smells bad. Like, at least buy into the whole, like, I'm an evil wizard. Because, like, who do you have to impress? It's like, oh, that Voldemort, like, he was evil, but at least he was kind of a nice guy about it. Like, he made his horcruxes, like, nice things, like lockets and stuff like that. Like a snake, it's cool, it's his pet snake. He'd probably love that snake. Like, oh, but that dark wizard Merrick, like, his horcrux was a poop, and it, like, we had to burn it. It was a bad time. Everybody, like, threw up. Like, nobody wants to tangle with that guy. He'll curse you. He'll curse you good. He'll turn your wiener into like a rabid ferret. So yeah, if I ever become an evil wizard, you guys heard it here. I mean, you already know my strategy. But, you know, I just come up with some new way. I just put all my horcruxes at, like, the bottom of porta potties. It's like, yeah, you find it, but then you gotta retrieve it, too. Good luck with that, bud. And, of course, like, most of the time I talk about this when the Harry Potter movies are on. And my wife really loves Harry Potter. Like, she loves Harry Potter like I love Star Wars. So she's always like, shut up. Shut up. But like I do it when it's like I don't just do it when we're watching movies that she likes, that I like find ways to poke holes in. I do it to movies I like too. Like great example is watching Revenge of the Sith today, and I was basically telling her about how all the politics that happen in episode 1 or 2 are like basically a mirror of like the Civil War, and like, you know, comparing the Civil War to the Separatists. Like, oh my goodness. And she's just like, shut up. So yeah, like people every once in a while be like, man, I wish I could hang out with you in person. No, I mean, think about it. If you're prepared for that kind of inane chattering and discussion, then man, we'd probably be really good friends. But like, I can be super annoying, and I know that. I kind of pride myself in it. That's why I can't watch shows like Naruto or anything like that has any sort of like, you know, really great opportunities to like really tear into it and make fun of it and find all the plot holes. Like, I can't watch it because I just make the whole experience unenjoyable. Could never get into Naruto. I've tried because I've seen so many things like from the actual comic that makes it look super interesting. Like, oh, that seems really cool. But then there's all this like other crap that I just like can't get. I just can't do it. Like, I feel the urge to make fun of it, and then and that's a problem. I feel like you're hitting the nail on the head. Penguin stank. That's a good screen name. I feel like you're hitting the nail on the head because too many of those shows like that, shows like Full Metal Alchemist and Naruto, and even like Dragon Ball Z sometimes, as much as I do love Dragon Ball Z, is like really cool stories with really, really, really bad filler. Like filler that I can't even stand it. It's so bad. All solid shows, totally. Totally. I will never say they're bad shows because they're not bad shows. I can't stand the inane filler. I hate fan service. I hate filler. Yeah, anytime somebody has to like go into a backstory of like why or how they're charging their current attack, it's like, no. No, now I have to stop watching the show. That's pretty much what happens. And yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon were totally my childhood too, but like looking back on it, just like, ugh. Like I started rewatching Pokemon like when it came back on like Netflix or Amazon or whatever it was. And like I was like, oh man, this is so great, it's so nostalgic. And then like the filler starts happening. I'm like, oh no, I can't watch it. Same thing when I go back and try to watch Dragon Ball Z. Like, oh man, I love Dragon Ball Z. Oh yeah, but the filler is so bad. It takes a rare breed of show to take filler and make it interesting. because there is such a thing as like good filler, you know, like Cowboy Bebop did filler very well. Trigun did filler very well. Even shows like Outlaw Star did filler very well. Desert Punk did filler well. And that was a show that was totally campy and over the top and ridiculous. But the filler, not only was it beneficial to the story, but it wasn't like just inane crap. Like, it was actually interesting. It was like in Cowboy Bebop, like all the filler episodes where like nothing really pertinent to the overarching story happened were so good. Like Mushroom Samba is the best example. And if you don't remember Mushroom Samba, you may have heard me talk about it before as the best Cowboy Bebop episode, because I think it is. But also because it's one of the best reasons, or the best episodes of Cowboy Bebop, because, like, the main characters almost don't even have to be in it. Like, you take the main characters that are established in this show, and they're in this episode in a very minor way. And I think that's why the episode is so good. Like, one of the characters that's considered a minor character, or feels like a minor character, is totally not a minor character. Ed, like, takes front and center in that episode, and you really get to see into this character that's felt secondary up to this point. But blah, blah, blah. Great show, great episode. Go watch it. And there's all these, like, new secondary, like, throwaway characters they introduced in that episode. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I could rave about it. I am from the USA. I was born in Idaho. I feel like somebody posted the thing earlier. If my voice has gotten deeper, I've been sick recently, so like things are still a little bit scratchy, and it's like my voice also sounds a lot deeper when I'm trying to be quiet, and I'm trying to be a little bit more quiet than I normally am right now. So as you can see, the quieter I get, the deeper my voice gets. Because I kind of just drop it down into my throat to make it quiet. Anyway. I'm just doing my best Markiplier voice. Okay, Burb. Thank you. Thank you. That's very, very kind. Getting some really like genuinely nice compliments, guys. That's super nice. Really appreciate it. Yes, I did play YOLO today. I mentioned it earlier. I just re-soldered the contacts on the chips, and it ended up working fine after that. When I opened up the cartridge, there was like some sticky stuff in there. It looked like somebody like spilled soda on it or something, but you know, it could just have been moisture. There's a little bit of corrosion, and I cleaned up the contacts, and yeah, those little pin contacts for the chips, I had to resolder those. It works. Strangely, it doesn't work on a Game Boy Color now, but it works on my regular Game Boy, which is good enough for me. I know there's some issues with like the RAM being different, the Game Boy Color, something strange like that makes it run slightly differently, but hey, it runs, so I'm super thankful. Yeah, you may have noticed that I enjoy Markiplier. I know who he is. I love that dude, not only because like he's awesome and funny and all that, and like just a good person in general, but like he's a famous person on the internet. So like I look up to him in that sense, and he's like people like PewDiePie and other Let's players out there have basically ventured into a new market and become entrepreneurs in a new field that has emerged without any sort of like formal employment or anything like that. So these are people that I look up to, from a business standpoint as well, doing something, making a living for themselves. And I think that's really great. Also, I really love horror games and don't get a chance to play them, so I like Markiplier because he plays a lot of horror games. My favorite thing to do is watch videos of his from like 2012, back before he was like super famous. Yeah, PewDiePie is a special person because he is great at what he does. He is really good at what he does. He is really great at putting content on the internet and making money off of it. That may not sound like a compliment because it's not. Because he totally drives me nuts too. I think he drives a lot of people nuts. But man, that dude is good at making money on the internet. You can't deny that. It's like when people like make fun of like famous musicians that like have a lot of money and like, well, I don't like their music. I think their music sucks. It's like, well, yeah, that's your opinion, but they're still millionaires. Like they still made this music. They still made a whole bunch of money off of it. So, like you can't, like people hate on Taylor Swift. Like you can't hate on Taylor Swift because she writes all her own music and she's a performer and she gets out there and she makes millions of dollars. You can't be mad at that. If somebody's like, they're not writing any of their songs and they've got gimmicks and all that, then it's a different story. But yeah, man, like I may not like Taylor Swift's music, but I totally admire her business acumen and her work ethic. And the whole like if I'm going to get famous, I'm going to make all my own stuff attitude is fantastic. Because I feel that same way about comics. People always ask like, oh, I'm going to get your comics published and go through a publishing company, be more successful. But, I kind of want to own all my stuff. Because on the off chance that, for any reason, there's a slight chance that some crazy person may want to make a movie of one of my ideas. If that ever happens, and it may, it's not totally out of the realm of possibilities, I want to own my stuff. Because look at the guys who created Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, the guys that actually created those characters got $0. Like, no less, no more than $0 from those movies. Because they were working for Marvel when they created those characters. So Marvel is just like, well, technically they're ours because you created them on our paycheck. So, if that happened to me, I would never forgive myself. So, preemptively, I make sure that I own all my stuff. Because that's important to me. So, can't hate on Taylor Swift. Long story short. And if you like Taylor Swift, like, see? It works. What she does works. You can't be mad at successful people for being successful. That just makes you kind of jealous. You don't like their music, fine. That's fine. You don't have to like their music. They're still a millionaire. Oh, thanks. Thank you, thank you. So, yeah. I want to be famous. It would be nice to be famous. That's like secondary, though. Like, I really do just love making comics. Being famous would be more of like a means to an end. Uh, like the money would be nice. My family wouldn't have to worry about, how we're going to pay the bills, stuff like that. That would be a huge weight off my shoulders. Uh, but I don't do it to get famous. But I'm not going to say that if I have the chance to become famous, like I'm not absolutely going to take it. Oh man, that's super early. Regular night owl. I used to be a night owl like that. Super insomnia. I go to sleep at like 4 every morning. Can't do that anymore. I'm getting too old for that. Like I need to actually sleep occasionally. Never thought I'd see that day. But thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Glad you had a good time. No, I've never been. Well, I'm not gonna say never, but I don't go on 4chan. You can take your guess as to whether or not I've been on 4chan before. Never posted my work there. I have an account on Reddit, but I never check it. I posted one thing once, and like I may, post like a little release for my comics. It's good to cover as many bases online as you can, especially if you're promoting something that you've created. It's best to get as many, even if you like create an account on Reddit and only 10 people see it. That's still 10 more people that would have seen it. It's worth it, kind of. Sorta. Little bit. Yeah, Sam. Yes, I remember that. Oh, I remember. How could I forget? It's a fine example of me being sassy. I know I haven't. I haven't been streaming that much, so it's understandable. Not like I'll be like, hey, where have you been? You think you can just come around here like nothing ever happened? Who do you think you are? Oh man. Please never take me seriously. Please never take me seriously. That's super interesting because like when I was in high school and middle school, smartphones weren't a thing. Smartphones didn't exist. Everybody still had like flip phones. So like the most people were on their phones during class was like texting. So the whole like having internet on your phone during school is like amazing to me. And like how do teachers like live anymore? Because I know that if I had a smartphone, like there were so many ways to cheat. So many ways to cheat. Like it's crazy. But like I don't know how teachers keep up with it cuz I can barely keep up with it. And I consider myself fairly technologically savvy. I'm going to plug in. I got a little portable phone battery. My phone's about to die, so I'm going to have to start streaming soon, but it's been a good run. Yeah, and see, that's the interesting thing is like I feel like schools would almost have to create like a no tolerance policy, and yeah, like have people specifically to watch for kids cheating on smartphones because there's no way to keep kids from being on their smartphones. Like that's it's gonna happen, and like obviously kids are gonna want to cheat or do whatever. Like it's just so crazy to me. Like I can't even imagine it. I feel like such an old man, but it's like a totally foreign concept to me. But yeah, I'll be ending the stream soon. Uh, I'm pretty much just gonna be drawing a bunch of fur on this moth guy. So those of you who just tuned in, I'm sorry, but I've already been streaming for like well over an hour now. Almost an hour and a half, it feels like. Is that right? Maybe my maths are wrong. Thank you. One of my favorite things to draw is fur because you can just kind of get in there and like mindlessly do it, especially on the close-ups. But also why I love drawing animals and insects so much. People don't think of insects as furry, but most insects are actually furry or have hair or like cilia type things. But yeah, there's Evil Mothman. Gonna be stopping the stream. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's been a fun one. My voice is actually starting to hurt. So yeah, it's a good time to take a little break. Preserve the vocal cords a little bit. But I really appreciate it. You guys are a pleasure as always. I always have fun doing these. I'll be trying to get on more often. A couple times a week is pretty much my goal. So we'll see. Going forward, we'll see. But yeah, thanks for coming by, guys. Really appreciate it. I love every one of you. Have a good day, night, just, whatever time it is. I hope it's nice. Bye. Sometime. Let's see if I can press the button. Press the button. Stop broadcast. Yeah. Okay, bye.